It's Michael from the Culinary School of the Rockies back again to show you another emulsified sauce. In the last segment, we covered a basic vinaigrette. In this segment, I want to show you how to make an aioli. Aioli is simply garlic mayonnaise, for those of you who have not heard the term. Really simple, and I think you'll agree if you try this at home that it most definitely beats any store-bought mayonnaise. Less expensive, less ingredients, and quite fast to make. You can use aiolis for a number of different things. You can thin them out a little bit and use them as a salad dressing. I like to use them as a spread on a sandwich. Put a little dollop on atop a piece of grilled fish. As you can see, you can do a number of things with them, and they do stay in your refrigerator for quite some time. First things first, aioli means garlic. So I'm going to make a simple and quick garlic paste. I have 2 cloves of garlic that I've peeled. First thing I'll do is just slice the garlic. I'm going to turn these slices into almost a mince. So I'm just going to run back and forth over these slices until they're broken down a bit. Making sure you're pulling them back into one nice little neat pile. Once you have a pile of minced garlic, this is where the paste comes into play. I have some kosher salt in the ramekin. I'm going to sprinkle this pretty generously with kosher salt. The kosher salt is going to actually start drawing out moisture in the garlic, and it's going to start working and grinding and working like sort of, it's abrasive. So what this is doing for me is actually creating a paste with this garlic. This is a really good way to incorporate raw garlic into a dish if you want to get a little more flavor out of the garlic, because I'm getting all the essential oils in this garlic out, and I can actually see the oil on my cutting board. I am grinding back and forth using that salt, and I'm applying a lot of force with this hand on the side of my knife. If you don't apply enough force, you're actually not going to create a paste. So you can see I've quickly transformed simply a pile of minced garlic into a nice oily paste that will be the base of my aioli. So at this point in time, I'm going to scrape all the paste into my mixing bowl. And I always begin my aioli with the garlic in the bowl first. Give that garlic a chance to actually infuse the other ingredients, so get it in there first. And then just like the last video when I covered vinaigrettes, I'm actually going to build this aioli exactly the same way. So it's important as far as method goes, how you construct or build your aioli. First thing in the bowl was, again, garlic paste. Second, I have 2 egg yolks. These egg yolks are raw. If you trust your eggs, if you're comfortable with the source of your eggs, and you have no problem eating raw eggs, simply use the eggs in a raw state. I have no problem with that. I know where the eggs have come from, healthy chickens. You can also do something called coddling your eggs. So if you don't know where your eggs have come from or how long they've been around, you simply need to take eggs at room temperature, put them in a pot with some water, bring them to a boil, and boil them for a minute. This should sanitize the eggs and not completely set them. So you're not cooking the eggs to a hard state. You're simply bringing them to a temperature where they're actually sanitizing. That's all you need to do for that. Separate the eggs out and use the yolks, and they should actually still be liquid yolks. So I'm going to mix the yolk with my garlic paste. I personally like a little touch of Dijon. Again, Dijon is an emulsifying agent. The egg yolks in this case, because of the lecithin in the egg yolks, that's where the emulsifying power is really going to come from. However, I like the flavor of the Dijon, so I'm going to mix a little in there. I have half of a lemon that I've juiced also going in. This is my acid. If you don't have lemons on hand, you could always use a white wine vinegar. A little acid is important. Going to make sure these are nice and combined before I start streaming in my oil. An aioli is another very good example of a cold emulsified sauce. Hot emulsified sauces, on the other hand, that's something like hollandaise, beurre blanc. Same idea, just applying heat. We're doing this all cold. I've got my bowl sitting on this nifty little saucepan with a towel so it's not spinning around in a circle as I'm whisking. Pretty helpful. Now that I've seasoned this base with a little salt and pepper, I'm going to start drizzling in my oil in a slow, steady stream. Remember, I have 2 egg yolks, and I'm going to use 1 cup of oil. You can use whatever oil you like. I prefer to dilute olive oil with a little neutral vegetable oil. So I've started with olive oil, and then I added about half grapeseed oil, a nice neutral vegetable oil to cut a little bit of that pungent olive flavor. If you like the flavor of olive, by all means, use all olive oil. While whisking, just like the vinaigrette, you want to, in a very slow, steady stream, incorporate the oil. You should see almost right away the emulsion that I've been talking about. So the oil is actually not resisting. It is slowly combining with our egg yolks and creating a nice, thick mixture. If you notice your oil is sitting up on the top of the bowl and not actually emulsifying, again, slow down. Put your oil down and whisk, and it should come together for you. I am, in this case, going to use this entire cup of oil because an aioli is a little more exact as far as measurements go. The vinaigrette, on the other hand, is much more a matter of personal taste. And an aioli is always a little bit thinner than store-bought mayonnaise, so it's not going to be quite as stiff as what you associate mayonnaise to be if you buy your mayonnaise in the store. It's also going to be yellow in color because we started with egg yolks. It's definitely going to be pale yellow. Mayonnaise is, I have no idea why it's bright white in the store. It really shouldn't be because it's made from egg yolks. So I have a really nice thick mixture working here. And again, just like the vinaigrette, once you have a very strong emulsion, you can add the oil a little faster. But again, be careful. You could easily break the emulsion and spend a lot of time trying to fix it. Almost there. Once you have an emulsified aioli, you can most definitely season it or flavor it however you'd like at the end. Add fresh herbs, balance it. Maybe you want to add a little more lemon juice. Maybe you decide you want to add a little bit of orange juice. Really, you can take these in any direction you'd like. This is just a basic garlic mayonnaise that I'm showing you, leaving it up to you to add your own personal touch to this, depending on what you're going to do with it. So I have a beautiful aioli here. You see it falling off my whisk. It should fall off a whisk. It shouldn't be so gloppy that it's not falling off the whisk, but again, it is nice and stiff, much more stiff than the vinaigrette. I want to make sure that I have a nice amount of salt and pepper. It's always important to taste everything. So I'm going to taste it using a little arugula. I like to taste it off a lettuce versus just a spoon. It's a little harsh on a spoon. Taste it on something like food that's going to dilute it a little bit. You'll get a much more realistic taste. Just slightly under-seasoned as far as salt goes. Remember, I started with a little salt in the acid and egg yolks. I'm going to add a little bit more now, and I think we'll be right on mark. When you are seasoning anything with salt, make sure you actually give the salt an opportunity to dissolve in the food before you taste it again. So don't just sprinkle the salt and immediately taste. You're going to think it again is a little bland. Add salt, and you're probably going to end up over-seasoning at that point because you're not giving that salt a chance to actually dissolve. And that is just beautiful. So as you can see, it took about 5 minutes to make my own aioli versus going and running to the store and buying your own store-bought mayonnaise. Why not just make it at home?